Stillwater's Morning Scramble, and Jesse's going to hang around here. Brad Rickelman is coming up also, and appreciate Brad being patient because we went a little long there, but I thought we had a good segment. So appreciate everybody waiting, going the extra mile here on the Morning Scramble. So, you okay over there?
It was a little awkward. Yeah, I'm okay.
Once he gets to about his fifth coffee, it gets a little,
Oh.
He was singing Irish songs there during the break.
So. Well, I'm drinking your coffee now, so thank you.
Is it all right?
It's a blend. I wasn't completely out, but mine was getting a little cold, so a little convenience store coffee and Steve's famous brew,
that's
all mixed
right.
in one.
I think you ought to try it. It's new on the market. It's called Folgers or something. It's either Folgers or Maxwell House, whichever's on sale.
Yeah, sometimes I'll go with that great value.
Are you? Does it taste the same to you?
It's Greyot value.
Greyot?
Yeah.
Oh,
it sounds a little fancier, right?
Some of the generic stuff is really good. I've avoided the coffee that's generic.
Yeah. I just go with the normal house blend, right? Morning coffee. I don't get into all the different ones.
No, I don't either.
Just take it.
And do you really know, oh, this one's gourmet.
Yeah. No, I don't need that.
He has that gourmet look.
Don't need room for cream. Don't need room for anything else. Just give me a plain coffee.
There you go. Hey, let's dive into some of the stuff that's on everybody's mind athletically now, as far as where we are, as far as game day preparations, because we've got a game on the schedule for September 12th.
Yep, versus Tulsa.
Yep.
So we don't know the time yet. So those times, we got asked the question yesterday about game times, and it will run just like normal, right? So networks will dictate game times, and traditionally we get those about 2 weeks out, and there's different pick windows, and we'll continue to get our game times. And based on when media, when the networks pick and what game slot we get and things like that. So that hasn't changed. The schedule did change. The schedule came out. So we have our new schedule out there. We've notified our season ticket holders with a survey last week. I think it was probably Thursday or Friday it went out. It ended Tuesday with their compiling everything yesterday and today. And that really what that survey was last week as well. We put out all of our safety procedures that we'll have at Boone Pickens Stadium this year, and they included no tailgating, right? Parking lots would open 2.5 hours before. Social distancing will apply in the stadium as well, so we will follow the 6-foot guidelines, just like what's put out there by the CDC, and extra hand washing station or sanitation stations, in and out of restrooms, plexiglass in front of the restrooms. We'll announce some different food options. It'd be kind of neat, and I guess I could tease it here. It's not a big secret, but we'll do a press release on it where you'll be able to use an app to get in-seat. The way I read it and know about it, you'd be able to get in-seat delivery or be able to order and go pick them up at certain locations throughout Boone Pickens Stadium, so you wouldn't have to stand in line. So there's a lot of different precautions in there. We will be reduced capacity. So with all that information, what we did was we surveyed our season ticket holders and said, based on this information, based on how you personally feel, do you still want to attend this year, right? And for the people that did not attend, just so everybody knows that we're really treating this 2020 season as a very special, unique, hopefully a one of a kind type of season, where if you don't elect to get your seats this year, you will still have an opportunity. So let's say in 2019 you had your seats and you renewed them. You'll have that same opportunity to get your seats in 2021.
And I've had my seats, 12 years, something like that.
Yeah, we'll probably need to talk about that too, right? we'll do that off the air.
We're being shifted, aren't we?
Well,
that's all right. Yeah, that's all right. I think anything's is open game now. So
and I'll tell you,
problem.
I'll tell you, our main focus is to play football for these student athletes, right? And it's not a shift in focus that we don't care about the fans and stuff like that. But the true focus is to be able to play the sport. And if guidelines would change, and this is a very fluid situation. It seems like you hear stuff about college football changing almost daily from different conferences and stuff like that. And we'll do whatever we need to play those games. There were scenarios out there at one time that no fans, and you see the NFL and Major League Baseball doing it different ways. And I'm fully prepared in my mind that if you have to pause and go in a different direction, we'll figure that out. Right. And that's just the world that we live in. So as of right now, we're going to be at reduced capacity.
Do we know the percentage, though?
We're going to be close to that 25%.
Okay.
Yeah, we have different areas in our stadium, but I think it's going to be, 25, 26, and it's all based on. It's tough to put that number because now that we're
Sure.
getting those responses, we have twos and fours, and different. You start looking at blocks that make sense, and how do you get people in there, and you find those numbers. So, if you would go in there and social distance your whole stadium based on twos, 6 feet apart, it'd be
Right.
different than if you had fours. Well, if you throw another component of twos, fours, we'll say sixes and stuff like that, and so on, that number changes. But that goal is to get as many people in there as we can, but also follow that 6 foot guideline. So there's been a lot of analytical look. The next step that they were doing yesterday was really looking at who said yes, raised their hand and said, yes, I'm in. I'd like to be there. And then you start looking at the number of tickets they had and how do we put this puzzle together and maximize the most fans we can get in there, but also being as safe as possible, being social distance. So, but the biggest thing is if you elected out this year not to come, one thing that we're doing, we're going to ask fans to take a refund instead of rolling their money over. Here at Oklahoma State, we have people that are year in year out they're coming to Cowboy
Right.
football, right? And they said, and traditionally they would say, hey, just roll that money over to my 21 season. What we want to do is just make it cut and dry. Here's your money. You're going to have your seats in 21 when you raise your hand at that
Gotcha.
time, and that way it's clean. It's we're there. There's no fear. A lot of times people would roll their money in fear of losing their seats, and those seats have been there for generations. So we don't want to put anybody in a position like that or perceived position like that. So if you elect not to be there, we'll refund your money. We'll ask you if you'd like to donate to the Cowboy Relief Fund, and we've had our fans help out with that a little bit, and that money goes directly to our student athletes and things like that, and with the operations of COVID, and we've had some gracious fans do that. But if you choose, we'll refund you that complete money, and we'll move on down the pecking order and figure out what that looks like. We'll have a seat selection process. We'll be communicating out to those fans this weekend. That will be done online, and we've done online for probably the last 4 years with the seat upgrade. So we have a system in place that you can go on there, you can look. It's a 360 view of your seat. The one thing I will tell you that this is a special year, and as you social distance, you know what our stadium looks like. So the probability of you getting your exact same seat,
I think everybody understands that, don't they?
if you get that, you probably should go buy a lottery ticket, right? Because it's going to be, it's like that. Now, do I think that you'll be able to get in your same section? I think there's some higher probability of that, right? And that's the goal, is to get everybody as close as they can in their areas. And really just what the goal is, let's go watch some football and be safe with all the procedures. So we're going through that right now. If you did raise your hand and say, I want to come to the games, be on the lookout for an email for more information here in the next couple days. We'll be sending that out with selection times, and we'll get people in there, and we'll be off the races.
I do want to ask you about the people that are opting out. Do you have a percentage that is? I mean, what's the feedback been?
Well, we were on pace back in June, if you remember. We were on pace with a normal year, and then as more uncertainty, as more the pandemic kind of hit that second wave, you had a few more people drop out. We had a lot of people that said, "Hey, let me go ahead and just renew, and then once I hear the plan, I'll make a decision." So I haven't heard it. If I had to guess, you're probably, and this is me just speculating, I probably shouldn't do it on the air, but I would say you probably have 30-40% that said, "Hey, you know what?"
Okay.
Especially when you give them some reassurance that they're not losing their seat,
Right.
and that was a big piece of that component. I've said on here since day one, we want to treat you like I'd like to be treated, like Coach Holder would like to be treated from that standpoint. And there's no reason to even have a perception that we're holding your seat hostage, right? So that's why we're going to do that refund if you're not there, and then give you that opportunity to get it in 2021, because hopefully at that time we're in a different scenario, and we're back to being Oklahoma State that we all grew to love over the last decade.
Yeah.
And
Well said,
and
well
that
said.
hopefully that's tailgating included, right? That's going to be a big change, so we had some meetings yesterday. But even, believe it or not, with post-game traffic, we're going to keep some of those things in place, just for that consistency, because our hopes is we won't be in this scenario forever, right? And that it changes, and so we'll continue to have our post-game traffic. We should be able to get the town cleared. Normally, about 45 minutes, we could get to an hour. We'd get traffic somewhat back to not normal, but not crazy like after a post game. And we really think, we had all the proper agencies in place, and a plan will be in place, and I think we'll have back to normal within 15, 20 minutes, right? with our traffic plan, and we've worked hard on that as a city, as a state, and all that, and work. And we want to get people in here, have a good time, be safe, watch a little Cowboy football, what could be a historic season, and then get them back home or to their destination. So,
Yeah. How many times a week are we being tested, the athletes?
it depends on when what you're doing, right? So when you have your return to campus, so like softball came back and you have to get 2 negatives, and then once you're
Okay.
2 negatives, then you're over that first hurdle. And what does that mean? You get 2 negatives, and then you go through your physicals. You're clear to do your physicals and start doing conditioning. Once you hit that as a team where everybody is at, then what we do, very similar to drug testing, where it's surveillance as well. So it'd be random test to check on it unless you have a symptom, right? If you have a symptom, then you get tested, and then there'll be certain benchmarks throughout where they check again for different stuff, and whether it's serology or whether it's just the standard swab. It continues going. I actually go in today for mine, right? So at 10
Have
o'clock.
you been tested at all
I
yet?
have not. Nope. So I go in today. Now that our softball team back, and that's my primary team that I'm around, and I'll be around. I'll get to go do the blood work and all that at 10 o'clock.
You know what's interesting on this is when do you know when you'll find out?
I think I think the test is the following day has kind of been the trend line, but the serology's been a couple days.
And we're all still trying to understand and you said you talk to Doc Ivan all the time about stuff, right? We're still trying to understand how all this works.
Mm-hmm.
But normally I would just say, well, that's great that you're going to do that. But in reality, if by chance you would test positive,
Mm-hmm.
you could change the dynamic of triple play sports.
I could.
I mean, just like that. If it comes back positive, then obviously we have an issue here. No, I'm being serious.
Yeah.
That's how, and it's not going to happen.
Yep.
I wouldn't say I'm not concerned about it, but any more concerned about than anybody else. It's where we are in 2020. But that's how these dominoes fall. And we saw what happened with Coyle. The Coyle superintendent has tested positive. So therefore, they're going virtual until August 31st now.
Yep.
Just because of that one. And there may be more, but we don't know of any. But if you would test positive, then it changes us. Besides maybe the softball.
Well, and I think it's important.
So you got to pass this test, buddy.
A lot of pressure. And I think that's the importance of what you hear with some of the basic guidelines, where it's social distance,
Right.
wear your mask, wash your hands, just different things like that help cut down the chance to expose somebody else. But it's out there. It's the world we live in. We all finding our ways to navigate it. I've learned a lot more about contact tracing. I have a spreadsheet with my team on there. I said last week I know a lot more about their living arrangements than I ever thought I would, but I have a spreadsheet there, and if somebody comes up with a positive, or they get a serology report that says that you had it in the past, it goes on my checklist, so I can be very knowledgeable on it and help Coach Gasky and the softball team navigate through there. And this wristband that I have on my wrist, I didn't end up on Washington Street last night or this morning. That's when you come into one of our facilities, you get your temperature taken, and you get a corresponding wristband saying that, hey, you've been cleared for today, or at least checked for your temperature before entering into our perceived bubble up there.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't know, because you also have a stamp on your hand, so I didn't know what that meant.
Ignore that stamp.
I thought I saw you dancing in a 6-second clip on TV.
Oh, if I was dancing, you would have known it. It'd be very distinct, I'm sure.
Yeah. So let me know how the test turns out. When do you find out?
Probably tomorrow. If I had to
Okay.
guess, yeah.
You might let me know that you passed. No,
I will.
but it also is a comfort, a reassurance to know that once you get cleared there, then we know that.
Well,
And
I
so
would
that's-
say, following the CDC guidelines, that you would fall within a primary contact of mine.
Yeah, I would
Right?
guess.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, and so you would be one of those that would definitely get but as I would be asked questions, you would be one that would come top to mind, right? Of who was I in close proximity? Not that we're not spaced out, but I was here for better part of an hour, right?
Yeah.
So I would say yes, Steve would be a primary.
And Christy.
Well, I saw Christy for, she
Well, you
she
were
might
just-
not be qualified as a
Yeah, you
a
weren't in the
primary.
same room.
Yeah. It just depends on what questions they ask.
She won't
me.
like it when she hears she's secondary.
That's true. Sorry, Christy.
I actually said you were tertiary. So
It's a crazy world, and we're all learning. And
it is.
it's,
It is. No, it'll be fine, and I'm
and
not.
it's made for great content for my class. I'm telling you
I
that
bet.
much. Yeah, we've
I
had
bet.
had a
Hey,
lot of
use the
fun.
Tom Brenneman stuff that we were talking
You know
about
what?
earlier.
I think we'll probably once I get settled in a little bit, I might. I hate asking people to come talk to my class because it's at night, right? Because
Right.
it's during the day everybody's looking for an excuse to get out and get away from work and go.
Right.
But mine being 7 o'clock to 9:45. But I think we could do some good stuff. It might even. Do you Zoom at all?
No,
You don't. Well,
it doesn't mean I can't, but it's not something that's on
we
my.
might see if you can come in and speak for 30 minutes or something. You know what I mean? I think it'd be fun.
No,
with
I
the
do
kids.
that. I do that. So.
And get you back in the classroom. It's probably been.
Well, I asked you if I could come and sit in the back one day. Remember? And you
Yeah.
said yeah. So, and I go, "Ooh, Mr. Martin, Miss Martin."
You know what? I was a little nervous, because I took a year off, and I was a little nervous
Yeah.
yesterday getting in there, and for the first 10 minutes, and then after that first 10 minutes, I got back in my groove, so it was
Yeah.
fun.
So, hey, good stuff. I appreciate all the guests today, and I know Brad, who's coming up, has been very patient and waiting. So appreciate that.
Thank you, Brad.
Ernie's going to call in, so I appreciate what you bring to the table too. And
We'll see you
let me
next
know
week.
when
I'll text you tomorrow.
when the good results come in. So
Well,
I think you'll be fine.
I do
So.
too.